Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Welcome. It might be week 13, the end of the season, but we're not done and dusted here on Apex Racing TV because it's the Ray Esports and Weekend Warriors week 13 runoffs, 2 races. Lots of drama and excitement in store for you. First off, we're kicking things off with the Formula Vs. And well, the quintessential entry single-seater in the American single-seater series, and well, I'm joined by, well, the usual Jonathan Bousby making the magic happen in the background. I'm Tim Cox with good old Charles Michel. Charles, welcome along. COTA, not the full circuit, otherwise I think we might be here all evening. But even so, smaller circuit, but does not, and small cars, but does not mean a small amount of action whatsoever.
Hi, Tim. It's great to be back with you. Yeah, it's COTA gets a lot of I don't know what's the word, displeasure from iRacers because of it. But yeah, we're doing the half. We're doing the half. I think this is the West layout, and so yeah, it's plenty of track for these Formula Vs to get it and mix it up to end the season with a bang.
Oh, most certainly, indeed. We've got practice just about coming towards an end before we head out into qualifying. That's being a 10-minute affair, 3 laps in which the drivers can set their fastest time before we head out into race 25 minutes for the Formula V race, whereas the SRF, the Formula Ford spec racers that we're going to see later on, they've got a heat rating in store, which is definitely going to bring out a fast, frantic, furious action and a big grid. If you know anything about the SRF Weekend Warriors series that are every Sunday night here on Apex Racing TV, we've both had the pleasure of commentating on many a time, and well, Charles, we've seen plenty of drama. But however, the Formula Vs, I mean, might be low powered. Look like they're practically pedestrian out on track. However, it's always the case that the low-power cars on iRacing bring about the best action, drama, and excitement.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You just because you can't get away from anybody.
Well,
so yeah,
it's
just it's so you're just you're nose to tail, and it's like watching I guess single makes like Porsche Cup when you got a really great set of drivers. It's almost like this, you're waiting for the person in front of you to make a mistake. It's really the only way you can get around anybody is
well,
you just wait for the mistake.
You just say about great drivers there, just as two of them spin. Curse
Oh,
the
yeah,
commentator.
yeah, of course.
Number one ticked off there, done and dusted, before we've even got into qualifying. So, yes, kudos to you on that one, definitely.
Yeah. That's kind of how I do things around here. So I try not to mention any names because that is the beginning of the end for them a lot of times. So, but yeah, this is going to be a fun race, and yeah, it's you know, they're going to be almost draft locked, but I don't know how much draft you can get off these cars. But yeah, it's just going to be, if the person in front of you makes a mistake, there's your opportunity to pick up a spot and see if you can work your way forward.
It's for me, it's going to be interesting to see this car, how its popularity continues within iRacing. Of course, the new Formula 4 just coming to the series. Although, looking at the calendar as that's got it for in the officials, pretty much looks like it's going to be British Formula Ford, based on the schedule that's got in store for it. However, today it's all about the good old American car. An American track, COTA, one of the newer tracks, not just at iRacing, but of course the world over. FIA Grade 1, the top honour that you can have, which allows it to race Formula 1. Very different power difference here today. However, as we said, I'm not going to be short on action whatsoever. Close times is what's to be expected, not only in this series, but also in this car. 210 separating our top two. Eric Ronenberg currently top of practice with a 149.9, the only driver in the 149s. However, Green Sadro Overstreet, she'll be one to watch out for if you know anything about her. Incredibly close between herself, Sadro just in front, and also Montgomery just behind. So that's going to be one battle that's going to be intriguing to watch. But also, there's been plenty of names we're used to seeing here, normally in this normal time slot of the Weekend Warriors. You've got the likes of Bradford Gould. Yogmani is registered for the session, however, he hasn't headed out on track yet, so interesting to see if he emerges. Brewster, Overstreet, who we've already mentioned. Green, he's running strong. Bobby West as well, another great name I've seen there, the Brit. Great to see how he gets on. There's locked in practice, around best lap times, a little gaggle of Brits. They're all sticking together, West, Spice, and Pike, 11th through 13th right now. But, well, we shall see how they all get on. And Charles, how do you think they're going to play out this one? Do you think it's going to be a pedestrian, just stay in it and then wait for the last couple of laps? Or do you think it's going to be, would you go early on this one and just try and break away?
As much as I would like to say, yeah, if you can get a chance to break away, do it. I just don't know that you're going to be able to with these cars. And yeah, I see, as you said, I kind of nickname Megan Overstreet as Miss Consistency, just because she's always kind of at the end of the race. She's always up near the front. She just runs really well. And but I haven't seen any of the Formula B races this year. I've called obviously almost all the Spec Racer races. So this is a little bit new for me, but yeah, I don't think you're going to get a breakaway. I think you're just going to see, you may see one or two cars that might can sneak out a half second here and there, but I think it's going to be a lot of nose to tail and side-by-side racing today.
Oh, definitely, from covering Ray Sports on the occasion. Ooh. Where'd you go? Left, right? There we go. And didn't even lift there, did Overstreet. Foot flat to the floor. No messing whatsoever. Took the gamble of its practice, so might be a little bit different in the racing conditions. But yeah, I mean, having covered a bit of Ray Sports in the past with good old Grant Ginsberg, the stalwart of the Ray Sports unofficial SCCA, but that was a leap and a half. That's what happens when you hit one of those little yellow, well, can't even call them sausage curbs. They're little. Almost like pyramids.
Diamond curves, yeah, and I mean they destroy basically every car you put on this track. You cannot hit those. I mean, you're just asking for a broke suspension if you hit one of those.
I think it's, you know what it's like, opening laps, packed tightly condensed in with one another. I was about to say it's fast and furious. Maybe not the first word for that for these cars, but it's going to be interesting to see if someone clips them, as we've just seen. You go airborne, and from that point, You've got no control of your car. You steer, you brake, well, with all 4 wheels off the ground, nothing is going to happen whatsoever. So if people start clipping them and leaping skywards, they could end up potentially collecting a few people behind, which was going to really put the cat amongst the pigeons. Could allow someone much further down the grid to be elevated up into the higher echelons of the standings. No, we're not far away from end of practice. 20 seconds left on the clock before we head out into qualifying, as I mentioned for that one. 10 minutes in which the drivers can set their 3 fastest laps, 3 attempts. I mean, I suppose it's, with 3 laps, Charles, it's not like, say, a GT3 or an LMP2, say, where you go, right, okay, I'll do my out lap, do 1 flying lap, come in, take fresh tyres, you know, only running with the smallest increments of fuels on the car, and you'll go again for a second stint. And these, I think it's just going to be a case of stick it all in and just keep running and running and running until your 3 laps are up.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't know what the tire wear is like on these cars, but my guess would be that you're just trying to build momentum. So every lap you're just trying to get a little bit faster, and then finish off on that last lap to see if you can nail down the perfect lap.
I mean, to be fair, if it's myself, 3 laps is definitely not enough. 300 might even be a bit of a stretch at that point. So qualifying just getting underway, drivers heading out onto the track right now. See Todd Hansen, one of the first out of the pit box. Only beaten by, well, a couple of drivers getting out. Dan Sadra, I think, is going to be the first one across the line to start on his voyage of discovery. See Andrew Love there, 544 machine. One definitely to watch out for is, I would say the American, but we've got an absolute plethora of Americans. Out of the 20 odd cars that are registered, there's only 4 that are not American. So that's going to be, we'll admit that part, but who is going to clinch pole position? And I think with these low power cars especially, pole position is so crucial, because like you say, Charles, you haven't got that power to be able to capitalize when someone does make a mistake, to shoot past them and gain quite a bit of time potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely need to be up front to start this race. I think the closer you are to the front, the better your finishing is going to be. Obviously, there will be a wreck or two in amongst this race. I feel fairly confident in saying that. Maybe I'll get a reverse commentator's curse, and it's just clean the entire way.
Yes, yeah. just keep saying, yeah, they're all going to wreck into turn 1, lap 1, the perennial iRacing meme, and then they'll go clean the whole way.
Which would be a fantastic race to watch. So yeah, I think you're right. I think starting up front is going to be a priority. You want to try and get as close to the front as possible to maximize your finishing position.
And these cars are really tricky, aren't they? Because as soon as it's really ultimately only about using 3rd and 4th gear. Because, well, from my experience anyway, these guys are far better at driving than myself. That's why I'm in the commentary booth. But 2nd gear, it just, as soon as you get down into that, the rear end just wants to snap on you and break away, which I know sounds a bit crazy for a low-powered car, but it just unsettles it massively unless you're practically crawling along. It's just pretty much 3rd, 4th, and using those 2.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also, obviously these cars don't have wings, so downforce is, I won't say non-existent, but probably not. There's probably not much downforce on these cars, so you're basically half drifting these cars around the corners, just trying to keep your momentum up, to try and carry as much speed as you can. And so, yeah, obviously, I'm in the same boat as you, as I'm up here talking about it, not out there driving it. So
definitely.
But yeah, these cars are, like I said, I think we're going to be in for a good show, because these drivers obviously know what they're doing, and so yeah, I'm anxious to get this thing started.
Definitely. So. Having a bit of a look, Montgomery and Love are going to be 2 of the first cars across. Apologies, Sadra is going to be the first cross. So let's see what sort of times we get on the board. And wow, Get a bit of a wiggle on. So that's the benchmark. 151.030 is the time to beat. Montgomery goes 7 tenths slower, which just shows what sort of time that was from Sadras Ronenberg. Look at that, 3 tenths quicker than absolutely anyone. As you've got, well, a lot of the, strong names well off the pace as Green goes faster than Sadra. McGill puts in a good lap time, but still only 8 tenths slower from Ronenberg. And I think what we've seen there is based on this initial pace, a really strong opening lap from Ronenberg.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you come out 3 tenths faster than the field. That's a great start to your qualifying session.
It's a cracking, benchmark and opening lap. So you want to put in, and just look at these times. Well, those got out early doors. It's going to be a struggle for some of the drivers to fit in their full quota of free-flying laps. One of them being Jeff Jacobson, who's been a little bit late out the doors, and what he would have hoped for there, 3.9 seconds off the pace with 1:54.63. There's Walbolt's into the pits, so clearly electing for the strategy of low fuel and go out again with fresh tyres. He's going to have to get a bit of a move on and get straight back out again if he wants to get his second flying lap in as we're on board with Timmy's organiser. The man behind Ray Esports, Stevie Ray, currently in 9th. You hear the momentum there. Only 4 gears in this car, as I was mentioning earlier. Onto the brakes here. You can see a bit of an improvement from him, and wow, you hear that there, Charles, just trying to feather this, tiny adjustments into the steering wheel, where she was saying earlier about momentum being so key in these cars and just trying to keep that up and not scrub off any speed whatsoever. He's going quicker and quicker and quicker as Overstreet improves to go second with a 150.9. What's Ray going to manage? Is it going to be an improvement? Well, I would say on that one, yes, it was slightly time improvement, but not position-wise. It was a 152.9. And West improving despite McGill dropping down a little bit there. Although he did go faster, he's dropped down to 6th. And yeah, just seeing from the onboard there, Charles, Ray just really, showcasing there that momentum is so key, and just one tiny little scrub of the tyres almost. It loses you so much time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said, whoop, and she just reset. So I was going to say, I was just watching her as she was cutting off the full lap to go across for the west section. That little gap in between the front stretch and the S's in the back stretch. So yeah, it's just a matter of basically trying not to even touch the brakes during the lap. And just basically rolling the corners as best you can and carrying as much momentum, minimal inputs on the steering wheel, and that's how you're going to get your lap time. And obviously, I think that there's a couple that reset. They're going to try and go back and get fresh tires and get one last shot at this.
It's going to be close for them, just looking at where we are on the clock. Yeah, a few of them might not even have the time. Not the best qualifying so far for Gould and Love, both having all their 2 previous attempts deleted for off-track excursions. As Sadro, wow, look at that. Just under a 10th, 800ths a second faster than Ronenberg, as Ronenberg is going to come across the line, and he goes slower by 4 tenths of a second. So he's going to have to settle for 2nd place. Well, wow, I say that. Down to the 2nd row goes Ronenberg as Green goes faster again at 150.498. Not quite the times we saw in qualifying, where I think it was Ronenberg himself actually managed to get in, be the only car into the 149s. But even so, I mean, Green and Sadro cracking laps from them. And Gould has managed to get his final attempt in. He's gone 13th for 197. And I'm trying, it escapes me. Who was the other? It was Hansen, wasn't it? Todd Hansen. He managed to get his last lap time in to go 9th. So solid results there, just showing all they needed realistically was the one take. The 2 were just 2 prior ones were just really build up precursors to the grand event.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think as I was looking, I was like, okay, so are we building as we're going here, or off to a point that you're not going to go any faster. And that's kind of what it looks like. It looks like that you're getting one good flying lap, and then you've used all the good in the tires. And so, but the problem is, if you reset, then you've got an out lap and one more hot lap. And if you're doing 4 laps, I mean, because you really are, when you're talking about your initial out lap, and you've got 10 minutes, you really have to be on the ball in order to get those 4 laps in before the timer expires.
And 2 drivers out on track of Ronenberg and Gould, but they are done and dusted with qualifying, just trying to sneak in a little bit of practice in these last 30 seconds we've got remaining. Not setting times where Alex Bradley, Jorg Marni and Bob Kern. So not sure whether they'll be joining. However, 19 cars having set times out on track. There's Gould just rolling through technically turn 20 on the full layout of this circuit, but the final corner, this shortened West layout, or National Circuit as it's also known. And here we go. Clock's ticked over. That is qualifying done and dusted. Checkered flag is out. As we transition across into the race session now, 25 minutes of discovery, excitement and drama, not far away from us whatsoever. Let's take a look at the grid. Grid lines up on pole with Sadro alongside him. Ronenberg in the end has to settle for the second row, joined by Overstreet. The third row, that's Bobby West, top non-American qualifier. He's got Jim McGill for company. Row 4 sees Chris Montgomery and Jim Brewster line up beside one another, with Todd Hunson and Stevie Ray running out your top 10. And row 5 of the grid, Andrew Love has Ellis Spice for company on row 6, with row 7 being Andrew Love, Bob Bradford Gould and Renee Pike. Row 7 is Jacobson and Navarro, so row 8 even, with row 9 being Richard Latham and Gary Walboat. Danny Thomas, the last driver to put in a time. He starts 19th, and, well, I'm not too sure whether they're going to join us, but Jorg Marni will be on round out your top 20. I don't think he's in. I think he's joined the wrong session by mistake. Of course, one to watch definitely later on in the Ford Spec races, with Bradley and Kern last 2 drivers. Although I'm not sure they'll be joining us as well. Yeah, definitely. They haven't made the grid, most certainly. As we can see, the lights are on. And the Porsche 911 safety car will be pulling away incredibly shortly to get us underway. Of course, as always, rolling start with this series, and a bit of a wiggle there. Getting off the line there for the safety car, I did see. Just trying to warm the tyres up. Good to have some excitement as the safety car in road racing in these. And I've seen, I don't know if there's been a bit of a kerfuffle further back in the field, because my end is showing that there's been a bit of an incident between a few of the drivers. Can't see any damage on anyone, so it looks like they've all got away okay. Yeah,
I think everybody's back in line now.
Yeah, I can't see any damage. That's the main thing. You don't want someone, you know what it's like. Don't want to be starting off the race from the pit lane, having to go straight into it. But that's a few corners, and you see Jason Green just diving inside safety car. If that's not a sign of things to come, as approaching up towards the final corner, and then we'll be going green the next 25 minutes. And a bit of brake dragging going on there from Dan Sadro. I did spot. It's locking up the front left, trying to generate a bit of heat in those tyres. Definitely. Oh, even is he? It looks like he's smoke coming out the back of his engine. Am I seeing that right?
I think Sadro.
I mean, yeah. They do smoke a little, but I'm not too sure. Well, we'll find out in a second. Here we go. Let's get ready to go racing for the first time this evening. Everyone ready to get going, as we are green and we are go here from the Circuit of the Americas for the Week 13 runoffs. And who's going to come up on top? It's green, well, really commanding that start and moving around. Oh, there's contact there. And that is Sadro around. Everyone just about managing to avoid him, didn't get the best of start. He was being swamped by pretty much everyone. I think it was Wolbolt who might have made contact with him there, but Green off into the distance. Ronenberg has climbed a place. West has climbed 2. Navarro, he's had a cracking start. He's at 3. Wolbolt is at 4 places already. Sadro all the way down into 19th. And, well, running last, in fact, and off the pace. Going to be interesting to see what he can manage to do to come back through the field as we take a look at the replay here. On the run down to turn 1. Well,
Overstreet behind.
I thought it was as well. Yes, it is. It's the 44 of Overstreet. Just taps into the rear of Sadro, which sends everyone absolutely flying to avoid Sadro. Well, it worked out for not too badly for Overstreet. Didn't gain or lose any places. That's why being a little bit late on the brakes there. But, well, definitely Ronenberg and Green. That means now that, look, they've already been able to pull out an 8-tenth gap over West, who's lying in 3rd.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Sadro obviously has got good pace in the car. So, you know, and knows what he's doing on the track, obviously, from his qualifying position. So let's see if he can make his way back up the field. But yeah, the couple of cars out front got him a nice little bit of a lead, but now you've got that big train behind that is going to do their best. I think we're seeing smoke. I think that's from the downshifts. I think that's where we get those puffs of smoke from.
There we go. Don't worry with a blown engine. That's the last thing you want whatsoever, as Ronenberg pulls alongside Green on the run-up into turn 1. Ronenberg on the outside there, trying to take the long way around and carry all that momentum. They both drift out wide, and Ronenberg's got it done, and Green on that tighter inside line. It's really compromised, actually, the both of them, because look, it's allowed Bobby West to catch up right onto the tail end of this pack. And also, Overstreet as well has come along for the ride, so they had nearly a second advantage as Ronenberg and Green. In the blink of an eye, Charles, it's disappeared, and now West is making Green's life incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah. Back to the back. But yeah, it's, you know, once you go side by side with somebody, that just brings everybody behind a little bit closer to that back. Because you're trying to keep the car clean and safe, you're not trying to hit anybody. So you just ends up being a little bit slower that way.
Oh, someone around there. I think that might have been something. Well, Ronenberg's lost a lot of places, but Gould, I think it may well have been. And Danny Thomas involved too. So a few people caught up in, I think, slightly different episodes there. But just, well, if anything, it's bunched everyone back together again as Jacobson's managed to get past Pike. Pike's lost a few places there. Pike's had his own incident out on track and fallen to the back. Well, it looks like half spin, I think, potentially. Let's take a look at this replay. There we go. We're going to find out what's happened to Rene Pike. So side by side here into the penultimate corners, and there we go. He's losing the rear and nearly saved it.
It looks like he just caught the inside curb and maybe kicked the rear end, or just loosen the rear end up enough to fix it.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, with these cars? Just, you know, shifting down into second, it can just do that to the car potentially. It's all happening up front. There's Overstreet going for the pass on West, and is Ronenberg going to follow through and try and seize the opportunity where West was just pushed out offline. Ronenberg can't get it done. Overstreet has managed to get it done though. Up into second, and already instantly onto the back of Green and haranguing Green. Is, well, looked like he might be sitting a bit more comfortable when he saw Overstreet making an attack on West, knowing how much the time that Green lost against Ronenberg when those two went side by side. Not the case this time.
No, that was a great move by Overstreet because she kept the car momentum going. She went from the inside line to the outside line corner because it opened, which allowed her to just carry that speed and just keep the car moving forward so she didn't get bottled up like we saw earlier in the race.
It's on board now with Ronenberg and onto the brakes. Trying to build that momentum. It's in third gear. Shift up into fourth and just trying to close up that gap, but Montgomery is close right up onto the back of this group. We've now got a bit of a breakaway group of 5 as further down through the field. There's been a big incident there. Pike involved Thomas as well. I wonder how they've managed that one, Charles.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're about to find out. I think Jonathan's going to spool up that replay for us. There we go.
Right on cue, as always. So Thomas is on the attack there. Is it going to be a half spin and then collect someone else? There, well, there you go. They locked it. Tries to correct it, and Pike nowhere to go. And they get going again, and it all gets a little bit clumsy and into one another.
That's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It happens. Bit of a racing incident. As I've spoken, Brewster has got past Rafe in the battle for 8th. Last time around, Overstreet setting the fastest lap of the race, 150.8. Compared to Renham, I mean, closest was Ronenberg, who was 2/10 slower than Overstreet. However, on this lap, Drew Green has managed to pull out a bit of a gap. This is the battle between Brewster and Ray. These two still going hard at it, and well, that's just how close Ray is. He's locking up the brakes there. We're desperate not to run into the back of Brewster. And it's costing, it's costing them a lot of time, but these two don't seem to care. It looks like they're having great fun out on track, Charles, because
they're
about 3 seconds behind the group in front of them.
Yeah, it's just, we're just having a good time, just kicking the car around and turning some laps.
This group of 5 have been caught, aren't they? Because I'm sure McGill and Hanson this time last lap weren't that close, which surprised me in some way, because the top 5, they seem to have stopped battling and seem to be working together a little bit, but it's not actually gaining them any time per se.
No, it really hasn't. Yeah, I think that gap between 5th and 6th was well over a second last lap, and now it's just like when we started the race, everybody's kind of nose-tailing in, at least all the way back through the top 7. And then there's a gap, obviously, from 8th back. So, yeah, it's, that's kind of what we expected was, get the draft train going and just kind of carry the cars around and see if we can, who's going to make mistakes and make passes.
Find out very, very shortly as on board with Montgomery. Knows to sail with West right now, knows that McGill is closing, and Hanson, he'll see it in his relative box. When is he going to make the move? Yeah, good third race distance already. So settling down a little bit, no one wanting to blink or make a move at all, as Montgomery now right up onto the back, and likewise is McGill, and this has become a 7-way fight for the lead. Let's see, Hanson's not that far. No, McGill has dropped back a little bit as Hanson is going for a bit of a move there to swap those two around.
They have more side-by-side battling. They can't do that for long, or they will lose that front 5 group. So they have to get it sorted out quickly. As you can see, the gap's already starting to build there.
It's one of those things, isn't it? You lose so much time from battling. And already these two, McGill and Hanson, have, well, dropped quite a bit of time. We're back to a group of 5 for the lead, Green through Montgomery. So it's just caught a glimpse in the background there. McGill and Hanson still going at it hard. And already they've lost, 1.1 seconds to this group as Ray has made it past Brewster again. And I think Brewster might have made a bit of mistakes. He's dropped right off the back of Ray. And behind Wallbolt now, in fact, as Overstreet pulls out from the slipstream. Ronenberg goes with her up the inside. Could Green lose 2 places in one corner, forced around to the outside? We have seen this extra momentum you carry around the outside work, but Green losing at least 1 place. Overstreet couldn't get the move done, has to tuck back into 3rd. It's allowed West back up onto them, and that's going to be a bit of a saving grace for McGill and Hanson to allow them to just take a bit of time out of this lead group, and they've taken about 3 or 4 attempts out of them, in fact, as we approach the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, this is the thing. You get the battle up front. Overstreet just sideways through the corner there. Yeah, she's drifting that car. But yeah, as soon as they start battling up front, just bring everybody behind a little bit closer.
Well, it's going to happen yet again, isn't it? As Overstreet and Green trading places left, right, and centre. And Green hung out to dry there. He's going to lose one place to Ronenberg. West might even nick another one off them. And then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, Hansen and McGill are back up into the pack, and we're back to a 7-way fight for the lead. Is that going to be contact? They avoid it somehow. With McGill and Montgomery there coming incredibly close to one another, Charles. And now they always go 3 wide.
Yeah, that's some great driving that managed to keep the cars off each other. But you know, racing hard though, it's fun to watch. This front 7 is really just having a ball out here. They're having fun. Obviously, you know, they're trying to win the race, but they're having a good time while they're out there racing.
I'm really badly trying to fit the Queen lyrics of Don't Stop Me Now into that. You weren't far off it, Charles. You weren't far off it. Where that group of 4 at the back, they just dropped off a little bit through their battle and now brought back into it. And Green almost in reverse was leading only what? This time, last lap, now all the way down into 4th. And Green doesn't feel comfortable on the inside coming into turn 1. I've spotted that. Definitely struggling a bit. Probably one of the drivers on a single monitor, and this is one of the corners in sim racing as a whole, Charles, isn't it? Where you really struggle if you're on a single monitor compared to those other drivers that are on triples or on VR.
Yeah, uphill blind corner is very difficult. It's not, you know, you can get it. You can get yourself trained to where you know where the apex is. Oh, as we see a crash behind, as we see, wow. So 3-car collision there.
Sadro involved in that.
Brewster. Sadro had actually moved himself back up. He was trying to get back into the top 10.
Which would have been an epic recovery, wouldn't it? Because that was a driver who was sent spinning and fell, you know, started from the front and then ended up right at the back of the field at turn 1. Not the start Sadro would have hoped for. Let's take a look at the replay and see exactly how this...
Curb. That diamond curb on the inside. And that's what we talked about at the beginning of the race. You just can't do it.
Pyramids of death, those are, aren't they? And now that's not what we would have hoped to see, but it just shows just one slight move where you just get slightly offline and it can all go wrong in the blink of an eye. But starting to space out a little bit our group at the front. Just about McGill dropping back from this group, and something's happened to Hansen as well, because he's fallen well back. He's now behind Ray. He's got himself up into 7th. Let's take a look at what happened to Hansen and see exactly what all went wrong for him. Was it contact? It was. He came off the worst. Luckily, for I think it was Montgomery, wasn't it? Who made contact with his right rear. Montgomery unfazed and kept going. Whereas, talking unfazed, these two swapping places left, right, and center. Ronenberg now takes control back up to the front ahead of Overstreet. Although we're still with half race distance only just complete and to go. I think, Charles, just roll the dice. That's who's going to win this one.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's that last lap, right? Whoever's going to make that last pass at the end of the race, because it just seems like, you know, the front cars, those top 4 or 5 are pretty evenly matched as far as pace, and so they're basically just, you know, having some fun during the middle of the race, swapping positions back and forth. I think it'll get a bit spicier as we get closer to the end.
I was about to say a lovely little move up the inside there from Love to get past Jacobson, but it didn't work out. And now we're going to go 3 wide. All fanning across the track, trying to sort themselves out here. And this could go any way between Love, Gould, and Jacobson, as they're all trying to find some space. And the 197 there of Gould gets the move done as well. That was some great racing there.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. I guess it's obviously big track, big wide track. You know, some technical areas, but you know, there's plenty of room for these guys to go side by side, and just swap positions back and forth and take alternate lines and try and find the fastest way around here.
It's Hansen into the pits. That is not good for him. That's looking like his race done and dusted. So shuffling around all up the front. Ronenberg's dropped all the way down. I think he's had a spin there, Charles.
It may be.
As he's looking, he's
I got
dropped.
this feeling we'll see it though.
He's dropped all the way down to 6th. He's lost a whole heap of time. And I do wonder if he's had a collision with Overstreet, who was battling so closely with. So in turn 1, or has he lost it? But yeah, he's just lost the rear by himself.
Sure did. A little contact with Overstreet. Looked like a little wheel-to-wheel contact.
Such a shame for Ronenberg. I mean, that was shaping for, that was a cracking battle that was
Really
going on between those. Well, predominantly the top 3. Montgomery was and West were just, and McGill were just sort of sat back, just chilling out, watching it unfold, and equally having their own scrap of their own. And well, it's almost becoming a race where nobody quite wants to lead this one, as they keep all trading places. And I did love your Murrayism there earlier on, Charles. The late great Murray Walker made many quotes that were just synonymous, and your quote of, "Oh, whoever makes the overtake, the last overtake, will win the race." Yeah, that's right up there.
It is. Actually, we here in America, Yogi Berra is it. You know, it's as he once said, baseball is 50% or 90% mental, and the other half is physical.
There we go. As there's only a 10 between our top 2. What more can you say? And there's not even that now. And behind them, it's all going on between West and Montgomery. Overstreet ahead of Green. Green, yeah, again, struggling into turn 1. Well, they come straight back at Overstreet.
Yeah, I think we were talking, you know, as we were saying earlier, it's just it's an uphill blind corner, and you can train yourself to know where the apex is, just, you know, muscle memory. But it's always those cars around you. You don't know what they're going to do, and that usually ends up you don't normally. I mean, you can spin there, as we saw earlier, but a lot more times is you just collect other cars because they're in a position that you can't see it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I recently had to go on a triple screen setup. I ran on an ultra wide actually, and the difference it makes. I mean, I haven't got the full on, you know, the big wraparound Samsung G9. It's, you know, it's only effectively half a monitor extra in real estate width-wise, but it's amazing what the difference it makes having triples does for the corners like that. I was driving Manny Core, was one of the newer tracks to iRacing, and a few blind sort of switchbacks there, and it's amazing just how much more you can see. As well, we can see right now West is under a lot of pressure from Montgomery. Sadro getting past Brewster further down through the pack. They have a nice little battle between there as Sadro on the recovery of a recovery drive after that incident when he got up to 10th place. But, I mean, I'm amazed that I thought Overstreet might pull out a bigger gap over Green. I mean, say bigger gap, it's still nearly 9/10. But equally, I was expecting those two to really pull away from West and Montgomery, who've been locked in a real battle between those themselves. As Walbot into the pits, that must be for damage, so it's not looking good for him. I mean, Hansen came in around the same sort of position, and he came back out again in 17th, so well down through the field. Yeah, I'm amazed that no one's really pulling away at the rate of knots of what I was expecting them to.
Yeah, I think that those little two-car draft, as we've seen when we've done some oval racing, those little two-car drafts can actually propel you quite a bit forward against the other car. So I think that what you'll end up seeing, I think these cars are going to end up back together before this race is over with. I don't think that Overstreet and Green are going to be able to get away. I think as these cars, as you see now, we're at a 3-pack, and then we've got another one trailing, trying to get. The bigger the group, the faster you'll go, and I think that these cars will be back in a big 6-pack before it's all said and done, especially with another 5 or so minutes left. So a couple, three more laps or so.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do it's going to be, just trying to do the mental maths and look at where they are on track. I would say, yeah, about another 3 more laps yeah, there's 2 more solid laps time-wise, so he's currently lapping at around about high 151s to low 152. So having said that, though, last time around, low 51s for Overstreet and West. They're really getting a bit of a wriggle on in these closing stages. However, saying that, Overstreet not having the best of laps because Green has taken about 3 attempts as well. There you go. Would reply from Green, 150.88. Personal best last time around. West, new personal best for him, a 151 dead. And, well, showing that there's definitely plenty still life left in the tyres, and as that fuel starts to burn off, it's the drivers who can manage it better, as yet again Green takes more time out of Overstreet into turn 1. 2 attempts gone through there, and it shows that when if Green is by himself, the amount of pace that he's got, it's just where he's struggling is in that wheel-to-wheel combat alongside other drivers, where he's losing the biggest chunks of time.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, as I'm looking at this now, I think these two will probably get caught by, as we see another big 4-car battle behind. I think you'll see the top 4. The 5th and 6th may be out at this point, with only a couple of laps left to get back in there to fight. But yeah, it seems like West is really doing a good job of Montgomery back forward, back to that front pack to finish off, as we're sitting here looking at.
Jacobson,
Brewster.
yeah, Jacobson, Sadro, Brewster, Spice all locked in a 4-way battle for 10th place. I mean, what a drive from Sadro if he can recover this one is nearly into the back of Jacobson. Oh. There's another car involved there. I'm trying to work out who that was.
That almost, obviously the camera angle was a little weird, but it almost felt like that they came upon him as opposed to getting into a wreck.
Yeah, it definitely seemed that way. Let's take a look at this replay. Maybe this will give us some answers. So we can see Jacobson, Sadro here. And we're going to see a car emerge around the corner. Yes, there was.
There was.
I'm still not fully clear who exactly that was. I think it was Bradford Gould, actually. The one, yeah, it was the 197. Who they caught, who'd had his own spin, and yeah, because he's dropped quite a few places. Then Jacobson and Sadro all collect them as Sadro's into the pit, so that's clearly damaged. Jacobson in 2. That's going to promote Spice, Hansen as well. But Hansen, who looked down and out after pitting earlier on, is going to recover quite nicely here. Pick up still a couple more places. As talking about picking up places, you called it spot on, Charles. Because West and Montgomery have closed in yet again. 7 attempts between Green and West as onto the brakes. Yet again, having a bit of a look there is Green on Overstreet, and Overstreet good out in front, pulled out that gap, and from that point, as I don't know where, is it rhythm or just starting to feel the pressure, especially where there's what must have been like 1 or 2 slight mistakes, allowed Green to catch right up, and then from that point onwards, it's starting to look a little bit more vulnerable and like she's losing a bit of time. Lap times have dropped right out for Overstreet. High fit 151s for her, whereas everyone else behind her, low 151s, even Montgomery, 50.9 last time around. So definitely, Overstreet seems to be better being the one chasing rather than the one being chased.
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if it's just a draft, is, because she was setting her fast lap times as she was coming up to make passes. So she was getting a really good tone from the car in front. So maybe it's just a matter of, as we're going to make this move to the inside board, as we've seen.
Well, it's whether Green can make this one stick. He struggled with turn 1. He's on the inside rather than the outside. Sends it in and has got the move done. But Overstreet looking for the cutback. They almost touched there on the exit of 1. And Overstreet having to sway right out to avoid contact with Green. But I think this might be the change for the lead official, as there would have been white flag in the end. So there's 1 lap left to go. Green knows it's all or nothing now. This is for the win, but what can West and Montgomery do? Because they are just lying in wait right behind this pair as they've been battling out. And Green needs a lap of his life to get away, just pull out a half attempt, anything just to get away from the clutches of Overstreet, who's now under pressure from West, who's right onto the back end of her, and this might play into Green's hand in terms of taking this victory. So look at that, 4 attempts ahead, and now it's a freeway battle for second place. Montgomery tries to send it around the outside of West, can't get the move done, has to tuck back in again, gives Overstreet that little bit of respite, but then go nearly into the back of Overstreet as Montgomery now trying to take third place off of West. Is he gonna get it done? Green is well clear of these 1.3 seconds as Montgomery passed West. We're running out of corners here on the final lap of the race. In the week 13 runoffs, Montgomery goes defensive, looking for a bit of a move on Overstreet. A lockup from Overstreet, the 44 as final corner. Here we go. Who's gonna take it? Well, Green's gonna take the win. We know about that for definite. It's a race to the line, but I think Montgomery's going to secure it. There we go. That short run to the finish line. And Overstreet gets second, but what a finish there, Charles.
Absolutely. That was a great finish. Green made a great pass. Looked like Overstreet had the right idea. She do cut back and try and drop back inside on the exit of turn 1. Maybe went a little bit too wide. Kind of got too close to the other car. I think she kind of backed out and just kind of let that battle end. But then that brought her into the clutches of Montgomery and West. And so, you know, once they started going side by side, it was just easy for Green to just take off and secure a win by a second and a half in a race that was much closer than that.
Yeah, as you said, the history books will show that Green won this canter. It really was not the case whatsoever, and it could have gone anyway. Rodeberg in the end finishing 7th after leading for quite a few laps, like off and on. Sadro recovers for a finish in 11th. Still racing, wow! Wow, Pike sent it in there, full commitment, nothing short of anything else. And Navarro, well, avoided with cat-like reactions.
Yeah, I don't even know how he managed to get that car in between those two.
I don't know either. Unless the replay's going to show us. So this is on board with Pike. Way back. This knew it required a big send. Went for it.
Jeez.
Wow.
That was aggressive. And luckily everybody managed to make it to the finish line.
I still, you know what, it's one of those things where you watch it and you're still not fully sure how they made it. Let's take you through some Class 5 results, though, from race 1 of the evening in the Ray Esports then. Weekend Warriors, week 13 runoffs. Green takes the victory. Overstreet takes second in the end, with Montgomery clinching third. West had to settle for 4th, then McGill around about 4 seconds behind them. Ray, great drive from him into 6th. Rodeberg in the end had to settle for 7th, with Love, Brewster and Spice rounding out your top 10. From that point onwards, we have got Laven, Walbolt, Navarro, Pike. We saw that amazing send in the end, full commitment from him. Thomas 15th, Sadro had to settle for 16th, gutting for him after starting on the front row, with Hansen and Jacobson finishing 1 lap down. Gould was 19th, 2 laps down. The retirees, while not making the start, were Marnie, Bradley and Kern. Let's have a bit of chat to some of our drivers, now joined by 2nd place finisher Megan Overstreet. Well, Megan, I mean, early in the race, when you were all trading places, I said that basically a roll of the dice would confirm who was going to take this victory. Coming into that final lap, you were leading. Just take us through that final lap, because, I mean, at one point it looked potentially you could even finish not even on the podium.
Yeah, that was wild there at the very end. Just coming off the little backstretch area, going into the technical section, I got a little bit sideways, going side by side, and then from there on out, Jason just got away from us because we were battling so hard.
Sort of earlier on in the race, I mean, just sort of take us through those sort of, I would say opening few laps, but pretty much the whole race, it was constantly trading places. You seem to be more comfortable chasing people than being out in front. Just sort of talk us through that. Were you just struggling when you were in the car out in front leading a bit, or was it just where the draft was coming into play a bit?
I think it's more of just I'm pushing too hard whenever I'm leading the full pack. Whereas when you're riding behind somebody, you can just base off of what they're doing and kind of maintain pace.
Well, I mean, congratulations either way. I mean, a great drive from yourself, thoroughly entertaining. Well, you taking part in the next race in the weekend in the full spec races?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Great to see. Well, good luck for that one. We'll see how you get on with that one shortly. That's Megan Overstreet, who finished second. Well, Charles, do you want to... I see Chris Montgomery sat waiting by. Do you want to have a bit of a chat with him?
Yeah, let's do that. Hey, Chris, this is Charles and Tim up in the booth. Hey, so we were just talking about with Megan about lap. You guys came from a couple of seconds back in the last 2 or 3 laps to make that a really tight battle up in the front. Kind of talk about that.
Nope. Clearly,
Hello?
he's had such a great race. He's been rendered speechless. He's that entertaining.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I mean, Charles. Well, we'll see if Chris joins us shortly. But well, I mean, nothing short of entertaining that race.
That was great to watch. It was a fun race. I mean, you had battles all over, up and down.
Well, up and down, left,
up and down
right.
the field. As I thought I heard somebody pop in there.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
We can. There you go,
Okay.
Chris.
Sorry, having little technical difficulties. First time caller.
Hey, no problem. You should have been in the pre-race with us. So
Okay. Yeah,
so,
I heard what your question was. Just real quick, so I want to get over the SRF. But yeah, we were a few seconds back. I was just basically sitting back, and Bobby was definitely a little bit faster than me. So I let him just. I didn't fight him when he got by me, and just kind of tucked in behind him. And just I was hoping the two up front, Megan and Jason, were going to start fighting, and that would let us catch up. And sure enough, that's kind of what happened.
yeah, absolutely. Was the draft looked like it was pretty strong out there? Is kind of what we were seeing up here? Is that kind of way it felt there that you could, if you fell back, you could kind of make up as long as you just kind of stayed in line?
Yeah, you could. Definitely on the straight, obviously. It was not as noticeable as some of the other tracks that the V's have run on, where it's just a constant thing, and you can kind of make up time in the technical areas without worrying about the draft. So I was doing okay through there, so I was able to hold on to that group, I think, just by being pretty good through the technical area.
Well, also, is there anybody you want to thank?
Basically Stevie. I mean, he always, thanks the drivers before every race, but he's the one that kind of orchestrates and gets this all coordinated through y'all and what you're doing, and just really want to thank Stevie for doing it. Hoping we could get the V races televised again. We put on a really good show every week, generally about at least 20 to 30 cars just randomly in there, and yeah, just big thanks to Stevie.
All right, Chris, thanks. Congratulations on P3.
Thanks, guys.
Well, it's definitely been a thoroughly entertaining way. What way to kick things up here in the week 13 runoffs. We're going to head to a quick ad break right now. We'll be back very shortly on the other side after these companies tell us about their great products with the Ford Spec Races. We'll see you shortly. Don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us there during the slight ad break as we moved across into the full Spec Racer Weekend Warriors part of the weekend of week 13 weekend here on Apex Racing TV and the Ray Esports series. Well, qualifying underway right now, and it's a long old lap for the drivers, not the national circuit or the West circuit as it's otherwise known. They're out on the full-bodied Grand Prix circuit, 3.4 miles, 5.5 kilometers, and wow, just first lap times coming in, and Gasper setting the initial pace there. A man who's picked up 4 titles in the Weekend Warriors series, and he's going quicker again. Personal best in Sector 1. Best of anyone in Sectors 2, 3 and 4 as he crosses the line there at 2:24.8 is the new time to beat. And Charles, that is 9 tenths clear of Steve Elson, who is no slouch whatsoever himself in that 56 machine.
Absolutely not. That is a rapid time to be a second clear. We haven't seen that with during the Spec Racer series. The qualifying times are always really close.
Well, yeah, it's you don't see that bigger gap in this series whatsoever. As you see Green right now, he's gone quicker to narrow that margin. However, it's still 8 tenths of a second behind Gasper's. And you see the pedigree of the German that he has in this series, and with this car, a driver that's knocking on the door of a 10K iRacing. That shows the sort of caliber of driver that we have got. We've also got Sadro. He's up into 4th, looking for a lot of redemption, shall we say, after the Formula V race we've just seen here. And well, I mean, he put it on the front row. He then obviously contacted in turn 1. For those of you that didn't catch it, fell down to the back of the field, managed to recover up to 10th in the end. But definitely one that should have finished much higher up. Hansen, he's had a good qualifying so far, up into 5th. Young Marnie, another driver, another stalwart of this series. He's just behind him in 6th. And, well, who is going to improve? Warbolt's on improving lap, and see if he moves up. He goes into 25th. Right now, we've got a stacked grid for you. Some 35 cars. Jacobson not really on improving lap west. How is he going to get on here? Another stalwart of this series. Currently sitting 2 tenths faster than Flavio Andalo. And Charles, for me, what I'm really looking forward to is seeing that, of course, COTA known for that long back straight out of 11, the run down into 12. These Ford Spec racers love to slipstream. Oh,
they do, for sure.
And I think it's going to be just fascinating to see what is going to happen down that back straightaway.
Yeah, they may be for a while at some point, going down the back straight and the front straight as far as that goes. Just these runs that they make with these cars. I think obviously we've got some drivers that were in the previous race that will probably a little bit of adjustment period to jump out of the Formula B into the Spec Racer. So it'll be interesting to watch those drivers like Overstreet and Sadro, who really deserve much better than he got in the first race.
Well, just mentioning those 2 drivers, Sadro's just gone 2nd ahead of Green, up into 2nd to start from the front row again for 2, well, potentially at the moment for 2 races in a row. Overstreet was only 6,000 for a second behind the car in front of her, but it's only 2,000 seconds ahead of Gradwell, and that's the difference between 13th and 14th, 2 thousandths of a second across a track of this size, Charles. With cars of this sort of level of power, I mean, how do you comprehend that one? I mean, it's seeing Flavio Andalo right now.
Yeah, it's literally a blink of an eye. These cars.
You say a blink of an eye. A blink of an eye, I believe, is from memory, because I looked this up quite a while ago. Something like 0.3 of a second is the blink of an eye, as Montgomery goes 10th.
Well, I mean, that covers P2 through P, actually, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's as we see, gas just, 8/10 up almost on P2. But then is what we're not used to seeing in these, where you've got a really tightly packed field, which always makes for really, really competitive racing. Obviously, we'll be looking for the normal things from the first race, which is you got to stay off those diamond curbs through the S's, and yeah, it's getting that run over the hill, that another blind corner, like turn 1, where you kind of go over, that takes you down to the hairpin that leads on to the backstretch. So it's going to be just fun to watch these cars on this track.
It is. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. Flores and Jegson just putting in their first times. They've gone 27th, 28th, respectively. Display moving Walbolt, Kern, and Spice down 2 places apiece. Just looking at laps right now, I believe that's Gasper's done and dusted, as we see Caleb Pocock right now, another one you'll see in the Ray Esports series, and occasionally as well in the SRF Weekend Warriors. Just to see how he gets on. Maybe a little bit down on by his own standards into 18th. Likewise with Overstreet, another one. Ray, he's Stevie Ray series organizer. It's about where he should be. And just take you through the format. Obviously, after we're done and dusted with qualifying, drivers going to be splitting out into 2 heats. So everyone with a odd numbered grid qualifying spot. So first, third, fifth, etc. will form the grid for Heat 1. Heat 2 will be everyone with an even qualifying position. So Sadra and Elson would be at the moment your front row for that one. We've then got 2 15-minute races with the top, well, pretty much everyone progressing then into the final. Obviously, everyone in Heat 1, where they finish, that will form the odd grid places for the final. Heat 2 will be the even grid spaces. And then we've got a 25-minute grand finale. Who's going to come out on top? Which I think, based on what we've just witnessed, Charles, your guess is as good as mine. At least the drivers do have a bit of redemption. If you, as we saw with Sadro, if you do then fall off fall down through the field in the first race, you can recover, and then you still see, if you make a good recovery as well, this stands you in good stead still for the final of them being able to, be on the podium or even challenge for the win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this heat format. It's a little different than we haven't done any, obviously, in the Spec Racer series this year. But that Heat 2 with Sadro, Elson, and Jorg Mani up front, because, we haven't mentioned him yet, but Jorg's absolutely rapid, one of the Masters drivers. And he puts on a show every time he gets on the track.
Oh, definitely. He was in the Spec 1 section, but due to being one of the more senior members of age-wise of the series, he made the progression across the Masters. And, well, I mean, that's been Chris Murakami class pretty much for the last few seasons. He's dominated that one. But Yogmani has moved into that class and has been vying for overall victories. Let's take you through your grid for the first race of this evening. Gasper's on pole with Sadro joining him on the front row. That's going to be a battle for the ages. Green and Alson, they line up on row 2 with Hansen and Jorg Mani on the second row. Wood and Justice, they make up the fourth row, with West and Montgomery rounding out the top 10. Flavio Andalo has Bradford Gould for company on row 6, with row 7 being Mitchell and Overstreet. Well, he's got Ray for company with McGill and Pocock on row 9. McCain starts alongside Andrea Favini to round out your top 20 in row 10, with Michael Nelson starting alongside Kurt Nunes. Row 12 is Bradshaw and Gibson, all British row there, with Joshua Flores lining up alongside Paul Jackson. Row 14, Charlie Figaro is with Jeff Jacobson. Row 15, right at the top 30, is Gary Walbolt and Bob Kern. At Spice, he's next to Jim Brewster. Then drivers not setting times, and 2 appalling commentators who joined the session as racers. So ignore those glorious names of Tim Cox and Charles Michel. We've got Andrew Love, Danny Thomas, and Jeff Horniak to round out your field. Now, I'd like to put out to try and recover myself here. Normally used to joining league sessions, likewise is Charles.
Hmm.
Hit join as we always do, but because this isn't enough in as a hosted race, that's why we made the 101 mistake. I'm sorry. Hashtag blame Tim. It's normally blame Sam here at Apex Racing TV, but it's definitely we've covered ourselves with zero glory here, Charles, have we?
That's exactly right. So
Yes.
yeah, TLDR, we're boneheads. We apologize.
Yes, we apologise. Does make it easier at the back of the field for a couple of our drivers because there's going to be grid spaces left for them. Yeah, a nice bit of fresh air for them to move into. Of course, there's always a rolling start in this series. So, of course, Gaspers has only won the Week 13 run-off once. Sadro's run it twice. This is going to be interesting. Gaspers, as I mentioned, 4 times champion of the SRF Weekend Warriors. Did hold it until he was beaten by one Estonian who's, well, ripped up the books. We don't have him with us tonight, on the Aero Nom. Bit of a shame. I'd love to see Gaspers and Nom go head-to-head as well. With Sadro in the mix, that would have been fascinating to see. But safety cars just moving along nicely now. 15 minutes, so we are just having the one heat as there's 30, well, crammed everyone into the first one. Bit of a shame. We'd love to have seen 2 heats, but even though, still great bang for our buck here, no less whatsoever. And of course, everyone progressing across the, well, 30 will progress into the feature, which means we're going to lose 4 drivers. Who is it going to be? Well, this is what it means. You do not need a mistake whatsoever because it could cost you dearly and prevent you from progressing into the feature. That'll be 25 minutes long, second race, or only 15 the first one. Not many laps though, due to the track length. Who is going to get it? Who is it going to get it? Who will take the victory? Will it be Gaspers? Will it be Sadri? Or we're going to see someone else emerge and take the victory. Safety car is in. As we get ready to go racing for the first time this evening, and Gaspers does not hang around whatsoever as we are green and we are go here from the Circuit of Americas in Austin, Texas, and Elson getting past green there and nipping his way, well, not just into third, he's having a go for second here, and Sadro could lose the place potentially as Elson in full attack mode. Nothing less whatsoever, has to back out a little bit. So we watch the field come through turn 1, they're all filtering through nicely, and I think everyone has managed to make their way through relatively cleanly in these early stages, Charles, as Gaspers just pulls out the 6/10 advantage already.
Yeah, it was a great start. Looked like everybody got going cleanly. I did notice that I think it was Elson that tried to make that move up the inside. Kind of like the car bottomed out as he came over the apex of turn 1. That might have just kind of killed his momentum as he was coming up through there.
Well, we spoke about the Formula V's being momentum cars. These are no different whatsoever. Just see in the background there, just Justice in that 399 machine. Making a bit of progress there, getting his way through. But here we go, out onto the back straight. Slipstream fully engaged right now. What is going to happen? Well, a bit of bump drafting going on. That is what your answer is. Justice on wood, pushing him along. You can see how that group ahead are starting to break away right now. 1.5 seconds ahead. Justice desperate to try and push Wood along there, but in doing so has left himself vulnerable to Montgomery. He says, well, if you're not going to make the overtake, I'll have that place off you. Thank you very much. And, well, Stevie Ray, he's had a good start. He's up 3 places. West has got past Montgomery, a bit further up ahead. Pocock, you see right now, well, being offline, not helping him whatsoever. He's dropped 2 places. There's Kurt Nunes ahead of him. Sorry, it's McCain even. Nunes behind him, sorry. Oh, tightly crammed in this midfield, Charles.
Yeah, it really is. It's just, you know, they're just in the draft line. I think we're going to see something very similar. I think Gaspers is probably going to get out and get, obviously he's in the lead. I don't think he's going to really get away as much as he would want to. I think as long as these drivers behind stay together, I mean, the way these cars are designed, they're almost just built for bump drafting. The way their fronts and the rears are just kind of like go together like jigsaw puzzle pieces.
Talking which, Flavio Andalo bump drafting over street there. In the run up to turn 1. So decent length straight is the start-finish straight here. Something like what you'd normally expect to see from the average back straight that these cars visit throughout the season. We're filtering through the S's right now, turns 2, 3, 4, 5, and into 6. But Gradwell is down a couple of places as well. Ray has jumped this little group here of Gold, Mitchell, and Gradwell. It's been demoted. Overstreet as well, making good progress. She's up 3 places too. To see Alan McCain trying to make his way through. That is Pocock ahead of him. However, Nunes looming in the background there. Likewise, Lawson and Bradshaw too, looking to pounce in these early stages. Really.
So much fun if you get that right. It's horrible if you get it wrong, but it's funny if you're on the right line.
It's one of those all or nothing corners, isn't it?
Really
where
is.
you say it either works perfectly or absolutely miserably whatsoever. So we see Nelson looking his way past Bradshaw, but Bradshaw is in the slipstream here, so it's not going to be comfortable whatsoever for Nelson, looking to try and pick up a bit of side draft. Can he get the move done? Well, yes, he can, but his sight on the brakes and he's into the rear, and somehow they all managed to make their way through. Nunes nearly rear-ended and flipped around, but he held it well. And Nelson gets away with it and secures the move past Bradshaw.
29, back on the inside. I think that was maybe just a little bit of good sportsmanship, maybe giving the spot back there.
That's what we love to see. Competitiveness, but yet, you know, good fair sportsmanship. These guys, you know, they've raced each other with each other a lot. And, you know, they're used to, you know, one another. They've built up relationships over the years, the many, many seasons in which the SRF Weekend Warriors has run. As meanwhile, back up front, Gaspers leads from Sadro, Elson, Green. Elson running in a bit deep, nearly getting into the back of Sadro there, and in doing so, he's cost himself dearly as Green heads through, and Hansen could even potentially squeeze his way past. Can't get the move done though. Has to slot in behind Elson. Manages to recover well there, but yet again, Elson struggling with turn 1. Green struggled in the Formula V race through turn 1, and right now it's Elson as all backing out of it. It's Todd Hansen there, just to prevent tapping into the rear of Elson and Green, who both ran in a bit too deep through 6.
Yeah, I think that was just somebody just misjudged the corner. The guy behind him followed him into that misjudgment. And then the third guy said, oh, I've got me a nice little run here. Let me see if I can make something out of that.
That's one of the troubles, isn't it? You know, when the car in front of it is so easy to get tunnel vision, isn't it? And target fixated on the car in front of you and make that same mistake as the car in front of you is doing so. You're on board with Just Justice right now. Driver who's raced here in these cars at real life. How much of that can he transfer across into sim world? Well, not too well at the moment. He's down 2 places, still in that top 10 though, and onto the back of, well, this little train. They're starting off with Bobby West. There's Wood, Montgomery, and then Justice. However, right behind Justice is Overstreet and Andalo. Look back from West towards Wood, and this guy, you've got, there's our great producer, John Grass, coined many seasons ago. You've got a lead group and then the peloton that's forming behind them, which is 7th pretty much all the way through to, well, just 15th at the moment. McGill has dropped off the back of Guild by about 3.5 seconds. Then you've got another following group behind that one. Ray, well, he's closing up onto the back of Andalo. That group's starting to close up a bit more so now. Pocock and McCain trading places further down through the field, but Gaspers, he's opened up that bit of a gap of 7 attempts, and it seems to have maintained there, Charles, in these early stages.
Yeah, it just seems like Sadro's doing a really good job of just keeping him keep him within arm's distance. As the gap behind him now, however, is another 1.8. But I think, Sadra may have made a mistake. Looks like the gap's opening way up.
Yeah, he's lost about half a second, hasn't he, there? That clearly happened for him. So we're seeing this battle free wide into turn one. Hello, here we go. 2 lots of free wides even potentially. Cars scattered across the field. There's a spinner there. That was McGill. Oh no! That is Nelson around and into the wall, and that's not going to help him whatsoever. Such a shame for the Dane, because he was on an absolute fly. He was making good progress, and I do love that livery as well that he's got. And I think that's going to be a retirement for the pits. It was a big contact with the wall on the inside. So there he is. He's at the back of this group, isn't he? But then he catches up with them when they're all tripping over one another. Goes, tries to make it 4 wide.
Yeah. Yeah, he made the avoid of the car that was sideways, but then the 2 cars on his outside, I don't know if they touched or not, but the innermost of those cars kind of moved over and collected him. So just wrong place, wrong time.
I mean, if you ever... it was Jim McGill, wasn't it? Who lost it all by himself by the looks of things. Yeah, too much speed into turn 1, lost the wrist. So easy to do with these cars with the engine being in the boot of them. That did the right thing, held his brakes, kept still. And there we go. It was the 909, wasn't it? That just came back across and collected him.
Yeah, that's, I guess that's part of racing, though, right? You make a mistake, and he did the right thing, as you said, holding his brakes and leaving it as a non-moving target for people to try and avoid. And he did it, and most everybody did, but then in the scramble to get around, he had more contact.
And if you're new to this series, thinking maybe I should join it or just watch it in general. 2 wides, that is nothing for this series. 3 wides, no, that's about average. 4 wides, yeah, you get those plenty, especially on the wider tracks, even more. That's what the SRF Weekend Warriors are all about. Great racing that's close, nose to tail. Just seeing Green trying to attack Elson right now with 10 minutes on the clock. 2 first race distance complete, and Green is moving left, he's moving right, he's trying to get Elson offline so he can get the move done through the S's, but can't quite get it done, has to back out. He's got Hansen looming in the background, stalking him, and don't discredit Jorg Marni either in that 925 machine. So at the rear of this group, acting like a bit of a sweeper, he will mop up any places that anyone is willing to leave a gap and for him to take. As yet again, you can see Green and Hansen tripping up over one another. That's just allowing Elson just to open up a bit of a gap. Sadro's lost even more time to Gaspers. The lead now 1.8 seconds. The German has the advantage over the American, with Elson being 1.7 seconds as well behind Sadro. But this gap's going to grow further and further as these guys tripping up over one another, attacking each other left, right, and centre, and talking of attacks. While Overstreet making progress. That's now 5 places. She's up into 9th ahead of Montgomery.
Yeah, it seems like that's Megan's MO is the closer you get to the finish, the higher up her position is going to be, and that's she does that seemingly every race.
So here we go, looking for a free wide into the braking zone. No, they elect for 2x2 as Overstreet nearly gets touched there. Nearly got caught by Montgomery. She sort of really shut the door in Montgomery's face. Meanwhile, Ladalo out in the clear and not running a bit deep. That's going to allow Overstreet to come back on the attack, making it 2 wide. Yet again between these two, in the background, Montgomery and Justice, they make their own 2 wide. I mean, they're not far ahead of them is Bobby West and Steve Elson, the 2 Brits. I mean, if these guys were to sort themselves out, they could close up right onto the back of those guys, but you try telling them that as, well, Andalo and Overstreet swap places again. Overstreet now in control of this group. 1.5 seconds the gap to Wood ahead of her. Try and close that one up and then try and get out of the West as, well, ding round 3, 4, 5, and they're going to go 3 wide for it. What else would you expect into turn 1? loving the wide track here. Elson on the inside. Then it's Hansen, then Marnie on the outside, all looking to try and make the cutback. And one another, Marnie getting a great run, and this could displace Hansen out of what is fifth place. And yeah, that's the move done by the Swiss driver.
Yeah, that was a great move. He saw, they both attempted the same thing, which was that cutback as you were talking about. And then Monty said, okay, well, he's going to cut back. I'm just going to take the wide line and just get on the throttle as fast as I can and get that momentum built back up, and was able to take up that spot.
Well, Overstreet, I've just spotted, as we've just cut to it, has lost quite a few places here, Charles. So obviously he was battling with Andalo, who's in 9th, and now finds us up behind not only Andalo, but Montgomery and Josh Justice. So all the way down into 12th, and Bobby Gould as well, trying to inflict even more pain on the American, and put it all the way down into 13th.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, I had to replay, but I mean, they've been fighting, you know, so we're hearing from Jonathan just off track,
so it's well, so easily done for that. Yeah, so easily done for that first turn, isn't it? It's especially if we've seen them going, you know, 3 wide, even trying to make it 4 wide through there. It's always going to happen. There's always going to be someone who loses out big time, and clearly Overstreet, the driver, doing so there as Montgomery has got Poisson, Darlow and Justice getting loose there out on the AstroTurf, just beyond the curbing. And yet again, the accordion in full effect as they all compress back up together with one another. We've only got, we've missed, I'm just looking at where our leader is, David Gaspers. This is going to go for another lap, isn't it, I think? It's going to be close.
You're right.
Because the finish line is literally just after the exit of the final corner. There it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Barney's got the white flag out, waving it ferociously as he always does. So white flag in the air, 1 lap left to go. Right, I mean, these guys are going to end up, well, it's all or nothing. They're going to see that white flag. It's going to be like a red flag to a bull, isn't it? And
exactly right.
your guess is as good as mine, isn't it, really? I think I've got flashbacks of what we've just seen in the previous race, Charles.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, a little different. Overstreet's actually behind this time, so this may give her the advantage. She might be able to get a move made and pick up a couple of spots here before the end of this race. See Manny and Elson closer up to the front.
Hansen as well onto the back of them.
Yeah.
And Hansen, Hansen's just, of course, he lost that place to Marnie about 2 laps ago. And Marnie's managed to retain that. These, nobody wanted to blink at this stage. But just looking where they are, they're going to come out onto that back straight, and this is going to be, well, Marnie and Hansen especially, it's time to shine. As Marnie fakes a bit of a move onto the inside there, into the braking zone, closing right up onto the back of Elson. This should battle for 4th. Elson will pick up a distance toe, though, from Green, as this battle just keeps happening once again. Justice up the inside there. And whoa!
No contact.
A little bit indeed.
Yeah.
That's allowed Overstreet through, and it's going to kill off Justice's momentum. But thank goodness this straight is so long, because it's going to allow Justice to pick up momentum and come straight back out at them. And Montgomery knows he's in trouble as he moves left, he moves right. Andalo up the inside. Megas and Overstreet looks to make a move and follow Andalo through, or even just take the pair of them in one go, but no. Can only pick up the 1. Montgomery loses 2 places, make it even 3 as Justice trying to get the move done. Can't, looks for the overlap, looks for it again, trying to push out Montgomery. As Marnie, well, something's happened to Marnie. He's dropped well down. I think he's made contact. Oh no, and he's going to finish even behind this group we've just been watching.
That's a tough one for Jorg, because he was up in the top 5.
We'll take a look back, hopefully see what that's all panned out. But with the victory at 3.5 seconds, it's David Gaspers, the German. Back to winning ways in this championship. Sadro 2nd, Green rounds out the heat podium. Hansen's going to finish 4th, Elson, Westwood. But let's take a look at the replay. Let's see. Hopefully, there we go to find out. Oh, so he made contact with Elson. He did. It was Hansen on the way through, wasn't it? And well, nearly got collected by another car making his way through. But I mean, well, it needed something big from Jorgmani. He sensed it with full commitment, and the rear just going away from him ever so slightly. And that's the difference between, well, finishing 4th and, oh, where did he come to 13th in the end for Jorgmani? 13th.
Yeah. You know, that's the worst part of that was it was on the last lap of the race, right? So there's just really no opportunity to make any positions back up.
But it's one of those ones, isn't it? Because if you don't make the move, like you say, it's that last lap. It's your last chance to make up those places. And you could see, you know, having followed Bobby West for so long, so Steve Elson for so long, he knew that this is realistically probably one of his last opportunities. So he went for it, and well, it didn't quite come off for him.
No.
So we're going to head across into the final very shortly. Just waiting for the last few drivers to cross the line. I think we're just waiting on Nelson, and then we'll be able to transition across. There he is. I mean, that's another driver who's, well, be disappointed here. Ran incredibly well, and then a bit of contact into turn 1. Round he went, and that was it for him. As he comes around it through into the final corner and across the line. Your last finisher here today is Michael Genet Nelson. There we go, across the line. So, Gaspers wins from Sadro. Second was Green, Hansen, Elson, West. Wood finishes 7th, Andalo, Overstreet, Montgomery in 10th. And of course, this is going to form up the grid for the final. So we could cover kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. As he's mentioned, Overstreet and Montgomery, they make up row 5 and top 10. Josh Justice, he longs up alongside Stevie Ray for row 6, with row 7 being Jorgmani and Bradford Gould. Keller Pocock on row 8 with Kurt Nunes, with Adam Bradshaw lining up alongside Tom Gradwell for row 9. Row 10 and to run out your top 20, well, that's Stephen Mitchell and Andrea Favini. Bit disappointing from Favini. We expected a bit higher from him. Likewise, Gradwell as well. Probably a bit disappointed by their finishing positions. McCain as well. A bit further down. He starts 21st alongside Joshua Flores for row 11. Jim McGill lines up alongside Paul Jackson for row 12, with Gibson starting next to Jeff Jacobson. Gary Walbolt and Andrew Love make up row 14, with row 15 in the top 13 being Alice Spice and Bob Kern. Jeff Horniak had a good race. He starts alongside Danny Thomas, Charlie Vaccaro, Michael Nelson, Jim Brewster, and then yeah, it's those two.
Where we deserve to be.
Yeah, those rogue commentators who just desperate to get in on the action, click the wrong button. They'll start from the back if they were racing. To be fair, even if we were racing this, Charles, I know for myself, I could not drive this car. I've desperately tried time and time again, but just can't click with it, can't jam with it, and I know I'd be finishing the back anyway, and I think probably, I'm guessing I'll probably be scrapping it at it for you, with you as well.
No, I would have been wrecked already, so it's fine.
Well, that's true.
No, it's, yeah, it's, you know, it's, I will say this, I've really enjoyed doing the broadcast for the Weekend Warriors this season, and I think what we were talking about earlier of this being it's kind of a niche car, but it's a really, really fun community to be involved with.
Definitely.
So it's been fun to watch these races, and it seems like even when there's bad accidents on the track, it's pretty much over and done with by the time the race is over, and you know, and everybody's just really friendly with each other. So it's been fun to be a part of it.
I echo your thoughts entirely. As safety car is in, getting ready to go racing for the final time this evening. 25 minutes. Here we go. Gaspers goes early again. Sandro, he was wise to it. Not caught napping, but neither was anyone behind them as the race to turn 1 is on. Green on the inside. Hansen looking to make an attack. Is Sandro going to lose a couple of places? Don't discredit Elson there, and all bumping across the curb on the inside there was Green. That's going to kill off all his momentum. Or is it as they're free wide up in the front and the rest of the field make their way through all cleanly? And Gasper's pulling out an advantage. You're already by over a second, and everyone bounced behind, left quarrelling and scrambling. This battle for second place that Todd Hansen has control of. He's had a great start up 2 places. Green's remain in 3rd. Sadro, disappointing for him, down to 4th. And then it's everyone nose to tail for the entirety of the field, while Gaspers pulls away, but being reined in a little bit by Hansen now. The gap closing for expands out again. And what is going to happen down this back straight? They cannot let Gaspers get away, because if he gets whiff and breaking away, wow, 3-car accident there. York Marnie caught up in it. Joshua Justice and I can't, is that Jacobson? No, it's Montgomery, apologies. Caught up in that one too.
Yeah, and I was going to say, York had already worked his way up into the top 10 before that. He'd already moved up several positions, but apparently there were just 3 cars in the same spot, it looked like, from what we could tell. So tough break again. We see a replay here. York on the inside here. Yeah, just trailed out. I think just the curb got the car unsettled and just pushed him out wide, and there were already 2 cars there.
3 into 1 does not go, and that I mean, even by these guys, I mean, well, if anyone could do it, these guys can do it. And it nearly came off. I mean, the run that Marnie got, you can understand why he made the move and went for it. Just understeered out, and well, it's one of those things, if you back out of it, then you're probably more likely to tap the rear of the car next year and definitely cause an accident, rather than keeping your foot in it. And they all just got squeezed there, and Justice in the middle, well, there was no justice for him as getting caught up in it. And well, now has Nelson behind him. He's had a cracking start. He's up 7 places, up into 27th. Equal top position gainer with Spice in 22nd, and Favini, who is in 13th, all up 7 places so far, as Green's made it past Elson up in front, Overstreet past Wood. The slipstream train up to turn 1 is fully on here. It's been started off by Jackson, Spice, Gibson, Wallbolt, Justice, and they're all compressing up. It's Nelson trying to make a move. They can't get it done, not quite close enough. So battles are plenty, 2x2s are plenty, up and down through the field, through the S's, and it's sights, and it's Larry. Wow.
Yeah.
We said about those curbs, Charles, and
We did.
Oh, no. Wow.
Not the way you wanted to join. Yeah,
Tom Gradwell.
I think Gradwell got caught out because the car in front of him I think hit the curb on the opposite side, and the first curb, and then kind of shook him up, and it caused let's see here.
So they're tippy-toeing their way through here.
So right
I
there.
just got squeezed a bit, and that's the thing with these cars, isn't it, Charles? That it's not like, say, I don't know, a GT3 where you can move around once you've committed to the line a bit. Once you're committed, that's it. There's no downforce to help you out, and you're stuck with it. I tell you what, Green overtook these guys. He's pulled out a real advantage, and he's desperate not to let Gaspers grow his advantage anymore. That gap stagnating around about 1.2 seconds. Meanwhile, Elson, Hansen, Sadro, and West scrap it out for that last place on the podium here tonight at the Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, this battle, obviously 25, it's still about 20 minutes left in this race. It's going to be, there's going to be lots more action like that for the remainders. I see Love dropping down the order a bit. Bradshaw also, I kind of wonder if Bradshaw just got damaged at this point.
Definitely a few wounded cars out there. Simon so far talking a week. York Marnie, Joshua Justice has just come into the pits. I get the feeling that's going to be a retirement. Bob Kern too. Can you believe? Only off out onto lap 3. Only. Only. I mean, that's the length of the circuit here. We're 5 minutes deep and only onto lap 3. Now we saw last time in the Formula V's. Of course, the spec racer Fords got close and it went 1 extra lap. I'm trying to do the mental maths of how this is going to pan out clock versus lap times, I think it's not going to be quite as close for this time. However, never say never as we're on board with Bobby West, Sadru just ahead of us, and Darley behind us. This is the train that's all the way up to Elson in third, your battle for third. You can see the different lines through those S's where it's like a pendulum effect, isn't it, Charles? You get it slightly wrong, especially, you know, near the start of it. It's like the S's at the Snake at Suzuka. Just that you know, moving offline, and that distance offline becomes worse and worse and worse, and it's so hard to get back there.
It's exactly right. Yeah, once you've missed one, then you've just lost all of them at that point. It's just without just completely backing out of the throttle and kind of resetting yourself, you can't catch up to those corners fast enough. So yeah, it's critical that you get them right in order, and otherwise, there's a chance that you're going to lose several positions, especially when the traffic is this tight as it's been during these races.
We said that things being tight, despite this incredibly wide track here for Vini and Bradshaw there. Right, exchanging a bit of paint. There's all someone around just in front of them. That's Stevie Ray. Losing it there down into turn 12. Oh, he's around again. Everyone sent scattering across the track. Manchester avoiding the big winner out of that one was Bradshaw, who jumps absolutely everything around them, but he's going to lose that place as Gould displaces him and has it back off him in an instant.
No, I don't think it's over yet.
He's not, because look at Favini right around the outside, trying to make the hard yards and make this work as they go for a free wide once again. Can't get it done. Gould has to back out, and after making up all those places, then loses them again. And Bradshaw trying to shut the door on Favini, but Favini had got his car just alongside enough. Bradshaw has to open up the steering, loses a bit of momentum. Favini covering off that inside line. It's going to hurt him coming across the start-finish line. Well, effectively the finish line, because the start line isn't all the way up until, well, the gantry here. But Favini's closing. Bradshaw leaves the inside open, and the Swede heads through there. Can he make it stick into one? Don't discredit Gold. He's going to look for the switchback. So is Bradshaw. Can't get it done though, and I think this place is Favini's.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got that one nailed down. As long as he's got to stick the S's at this point.
That's the thing. Can he keep it tight and neat through here? It looks like he's going to make it happen, isn't he, Favini? Bradshaw having himself a 13th goal, 14. What's happened to Jeff Horniak? You think he's had a bit of an issue out on track? And when you've got a 10th covering 3 cars, you know just how close things are. Elson leading this group. Green in the middle, Hansen out wide. Hansen could lose a place to Sadro, who, let's not forget, he started on the front row, now down in 6th, and Darlow part of this group. Overstreet has caught up onto the back of them too. And it's all about that last place on the podium, Charles. It's all about it.
It is, and yeah, the more they fight, the more cars are going to get involved in it. And that much more difficult to secure the P3.
You say that, you know, again, start attacking one another. It's advantage Hansen, sorry. He takes control of this group, and I'm just looking. Wood is only 2. Oh, Elson's around. Oh no, Steve Elson, after holding on for third for so long. Now, was that contact or was that all self-inflicted? You have to wonder, as Nunes nearly into the back of Elson there. I think he was going to break quite as soon. Let's take a look at the replay.
Yeah, let's look. I think he just lost it on his own, but let's just make sure.
Let's find out. So it's green behind him. Yeah.
Yep, he did. Just turned in too much throttle. Yep, too much mustard, as Austin used to say. Too much mustard on that one.
Bowson all the way down to 9th. That is a tall order. I mean, we've still got 15 minutes of racing. You know, anything can happen and will happen like this right now. This is the battle between, well, it starts all the way pretty much with Spice, Vaccaro, Gibson, Montgomery, you can see, trying to make his way past Gibson. Bradwell just behind them, so is Walbot. Bradwell's dropped a fair few places. course, got up, and so was Montgomery as well. Of course, he was much higher up. So Montgomery's down to 17, Gradwell's down 10. All while this has been going on, Michael Nelson, the Dane, he's up in 21st. He's climbed 13 places. Let's get that one quiet.
That's impressive, absolutely.
Definitely kept that one quiet as the Dane.
So, as we were looking, you know, as we were talking about earlier, we had that group of 5 or 6 cars that were battling. And as they kept battling, now you've got 4 more that have joined the end of that train. They're only about a second, 1.2 back, less than that now. Also, sorry, 1.6 as we see the graphic. But the more the cars that are in P3 to P7 keep battling, the more that they're going to bring P8 through 11 in, and it's just going to make it that much more difficult.
Definitely is. Definitely is. You see Vaccaro right now trying to make some moves as he's got a battle just in front of him between Love and Jackson. Trying to get involved in that one. I mean, it's hard to know where to look, isn't it? Because there's so many big battles going out right now. Gold and Jacobson side by side talking of battles. Someone, I would say one of our closest battles, but they're only 200ths of a second apart, thousandths of a second apart between those two. Whereas you can see from the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, I mean, just how close it is. When it goes below half a second, it goes orange. I mean, there's oranges are plenty, let alone the yellows where they're just over half a second.
I mean, you pretty much got an orchard at this point.
Oh, you have. Definitely. It's California, there's a lot of orange orchards, isn't there?
I think so. And Florida.
Yeah, Florida's the one I'm thinking of. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I would have been worried if, as an American, you wouldn't have known that one.
Yeah.
About your own country, but then it is quite big.
For sure.
But I saw the other day that Great Britain fits into Texas 2.5 times. Give you some perspective.
Yeah.
You see Darlow right now on, still locked in this battle. But West now controls for third. Hansen has dropped behind West. Sadro has clipped at one place. Obviously, you're being helped by the spin earlier on. That really sort of kicked things off here that Steve Alson had. Although Alson is up into 8th, however, 4 seconds behind all these guys right now. So there he is, trying to bring along Wood and Nunez for the ride too. Well, if anyone can catch up on this group, Alson is the person to do so. So that's a tall order. I mean, we've got, what, 12 minutes left? I mean, it's half race distance, isn't it? So you never know. Never say never.
Never say never. Yeah, but you know, West is in, you know, up in 3, but then you've got 4 cars behind him within a second.
Contact.
And another contact.
That is Gradwell and Gibson. Oh, it's not the best of evenings for Tom Gradwell, the man from down under. Oh dear. Oh dear, such a shame. And normally a real strong driver that we've seen in this series, just not connecting, not gelling, not being one, you know, man and machine and track, being united. And were they caught off by that? Well, I'm wondering whether they were just caught off guard by that a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So yeah, so the 893 basically got kind of, I think maybe let up, and the car went wide, and then he came back on the track, and there was already another car there. So you know, that's what happens.
Net code saving those two there. Nelson running incredibly wide, and Flores nearly making contact. That was into turn 12 as I head through 13 and 14 and 15 now. It's a little complex of corners. And Flores can smell blood almost here and smell that 18th place off Nelson. He's now up 16 places.
That's a
16 places.
Fantastic drive.
I mean, some officials don't even have 16 places. 16 people take part in them.
It's true.
He's onto the brakes. This is the battle for the third. Well, still keeps going. It just will not let off whatsoever. Further behind them, Wood has made his way past Elson. think Elson wants those two to be scrapping away. He wants to be back in this fight, fighting away once again, although Elson now is under a lot of pressure from Nunez. As this group, they settled down. They seem to have, they traded places a little bit earlier on, but they seem contented now. I think this is it's the calm before the storm, isn't it? Definitely, Charles. If you know anything about this series.
So. Yeah. I think once we get down to the last couple of laps, it'll be every person for themselves. And so they'll be taking a lot more risks. As we see right there, a little contact side by side, the 917.
Mitchell and McGill, I think that was, wasn't it? They made the contact.
I believe so. So it cost Mitchell a couple of spots.
Forward with Flavio Andalo right now, the Brazilian. Sadro ahead of us, and then Weston Hansen. So they all find out, this could be a change for third, couldn't it?
Very well could.
What could Andalo do? He closes right in and nearly ends up in the rear there of Green, I think it was. Oh, and he's dropped right out of this group. As Hansen still holds on to it, West just behind Overstreet. And then Sadro actually lost a place, I think, within that group. Yeah, he did to Overstreet. Wow.
That was
just late braking, and then well, I think there was definitely a Code Brown moment there for Flavio Andalo.
I believe that you're correct, sir. And I think that it was smart of him not to try and just basically locked it up and said, you know what, I'm just going to stay on the outside. I'll take my punishment, drop back to the back of this group, and then see if I can get the tires cooled off and work my way back up.
Tucky trying to make the way up through the field. Jim McGill is up 9 places so far. It's the 42 machine, hoping for some more. Sam Bradshaw ahead of him. Stevie Ray, if he hadn't have had that spin, just where would he have finished?
I mean, he was running up very close to the top 10 when
he was,
had that spin.
He was, you know, looking at it now, I think he would have been part of that sort of Elson, Nunez. Well, what was Wood as well? Wood was involved with Elson, but he's dropped down a little bit. I think something's happened with Elson too, because he's lost a little bit of time. Furthermore, let's allow Nunez to close up on them, because they were only there's something definitely happened then, because Andalo was sort of bridging the gap between them, and there was only would have been about 1.5 to 2 seconds, because Elson was about 3 seconds behind Overstreet, who originally was in 6th or 7th.
I think that's right. But I think she was actually in 8th when Andalo locked up.
Yes.
So I think we're seeing a battle here.
Yeah,
this corner is very popular. The last of the late breakers there with 312 car. Hansen takes back over third. For now. West just comes back to the inside.
Overstreet looking. Following. Yeah, definitely. It's what you're going to need, isn't it, to get this move done, and also just push yourself forward too. However, Hansen on that outside, like if you can hold it there, he'll be in the inside for the next few corners. And look at that momentum he's carried through, and he's secured that one. As just in the background there, Andalo runs deep yet again. We're desperate to try and catch up onto the back of these guys, but just falls even further behind in doing so.
Yeah, I think Andalo just needs to settle down, just run his line, run his pace, let these cars in front of him spread out, battle each other, and he'll be back in with them soon enough.
I don't doubt it whatsoever, Charles. I don't doubt it. There is Elson onto the back of Nunez and closing fast, carrying much more momentum with that section of the track. He knows that there's a big moment coming up, and well, Nunez just getting a bit squirrely, a bit loose. Start finish straight coming up, and this is where Elson's chance comes to take 8th place away from Nunez, although a bit loose himself there with Steve Elson. A bit loose himself.
Absolutely. I think we'll see if we get back to that group that's P3 to P5. I think we'll see when we get down to this point again where they're starting to fan out. I think I think you'll start seeing more cars, maybe where Overstreet or Sadro are, instead of taking that inside line car and pushing, they may just decide to stay on the outside because I think you get better run out of that corner at the end of the straightaway, and I think that's how they're able to stay up. Plus, as you said, it gives you the inside for that next set of corners.
Well, I mean, it's odd to see, that you defend from being on the outside, but it's the way it works here with the next sequence of corners and the speed you carry through. Turn 12, and well, that's cost a deal. Oh, they constantly interrupt Sadro. They looked to try and carry the momentum through to get the move done, but then couldn't. And that's backed them up, and look, it's created a the biggest gap we've had in quite a while. As Hansen on the outside once again, West tries to get the move done, trying to use all that draft to get ahead, to block off Hansen. And is it going to be enough? Hansen's going to try and outbake him. He knows he can defend around the outside, but Green's got the move done. West has got the move done. Oh, Hansen comes back to look. That's allowed Overstreet to catch right up, and Sadro too. And yet again, they're all on top of one another. This quarrel continues on for the last place on the podium. Gaspers is ahead by 5 seconds over Green, who's some 7 seconds clear of that battle for third.
Yeah, those two cars just checked out.
Oh, it's just hot lapping now for Gaspers. Well, I say now. I think it's been for an incredibly long time, hasn't it, really, for Gaspers?
Yeah, I think so. I'll go back and look at timing and score, and he's got the fastest lap of the race, and he's the only car that was in the 225s. So, yeah. So, I think he's got the field covered.
I think that tells you everything you need to know about David Gaspers and his pedigree with this car. I haven't mentioned him since the start, and well, dominant display from him yet again. As further down the field, there's still fights aplenty, still people swapping positions. So Nelson just pulled into the inside. Oh, he's gone into the pits. I think he must have damage. Or has he hit the incident point limit? We'll see if he drives through the pits. No, he's pulling across like he's going to park the car up, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. It had such a great run going, too.
Oh, a phenomenal run.
Yep,
oh, that was
fast repair.
Yeah. I mean, as things stand at the moment, he's still going to finish up 7 places in 27th. I mean, that's some idea that of what he's had as well. You can't take your eyes off these guys for an absolute minute, can you?
You can't. No.
But not even a moment, I don't think, let alone a minute. Now,
the drag race down the back straight.
Well, it's pretty much like a drag strip, isn't it? It's well over a quarter mile, and Hansen's on the inside, West on the outside. Could this be the change? Could West finally get the move done? Hansen, surprisingly, on that inside line. I would have thought he would have covered off the outside. As Gaspers he's going to get the white flag. 1 lap to go. This is one set of opportunities left for these drivers then to get the move done. Who's going to claim third? Will it be West? Will it be Hansen? Will it be Overstreet? Or could Sadro come from the rear end of this group and surprise them all and take that last place on the podium? So round Gaspers comes. He takes the white flag. With some 40 seconds left on the clock from the Circuit of the Americas. Just needs to bring that car home. 6 seconds the advantage over Green, who has 7 seconds over this group. Here we go. The lap of discovery is on. I think, for me, this is between West and Hansen. I don't think Overstreet and Sadro have got enough. As we look up, there we go. The move trying to be done there from Hansen, trying to get it back past West. Can't make it stick. Backs out of it.
I don't think I'm going to count any of these drivers out. It's just about positioning yourself at this point, right? You just, all right, let me get tucked in, get ready to make that run. You may see them, if they get everything lined up right, you may see them wide down the back straight to get to the back half of that circuit to finish this lap off.
I mean, anything with more power, I would say pretty much this is into turn 12. That decides it. These, no. I think it's literally whoever gets the move done into turn 20, the final turn, that's where it gets decided. So we look back from west towards Hansen. Here we go, out onto the back straight. Overstreet has dropped off the back of them quite a bit. So it's a two-way fight between West and Hansen. Who gets third? Will West defend the inside? The outside looks to be more popular heading into 12. And while West is going to stay there, Hansen uses the overspeed, moves round. He's trying to squeeze out West as Hansen's going to take control for now. As in the background, Sadro looking to get past Overstreet. Overstreet holds it round the outside to defend it, but Sadro might just be enough in head to shut the door on Overstreet, but no, has to look for the cutback. Meanwhile, up in front, Hansen is securing that position over West. 3 attempts the advantage. Not many corners left right now, as we've got the long arcing 16, 17 and 18, the triple right-hander, as Gaspers with a massive advantage wins in the Kansas, needs 7.5 seconds. He claims the victory in the week 13 runoffs. Congratulations to him, making it 2 wins in the runoffs. Green is going to take second. West past Hansen. I've just seen the change on the timing tab. They're side by side. It's a run to the line. Who's going to get it? Will it be Hansen? Will it be West? And Hansen's just going to get it by a 10th. And Overstreet pips out Sadro for 5th.
Oh. Take a minute there, Tim. No, it was a great race.
Well, I was going to say, but it's not done and dusted.
It's not. There's still people on the track, you know, because it's such a long lap. You know, we still got half the field still out there battling.
Yeah, Bradshaw making it past McGill there for 13th place. Then it's the battle for 19th, I think, is the next big one. There we are. Well, as our producers scored it, the battle of death. 5 cars. Well, 6 cars, apology. Well, they're all going to make it through. I think they are. But there's a run at the back of the group between Gradwell and Gordon. Wow, they come across the line 300ths of a second apart.
What a great race.
But equally, it's just the average day in Weekend Warriors.
It really is. It really is. It's like this every weekend.
It is. It just never lets up. And even at circuits where you think, nah, you can't overtake around here. It's, you know, someone like a Hungaroring, VIR, for example. You know, tracks that are good fun to hot lap in, but the racing is normally a bit bland, a bit vanilla at the best of times. You know, if you get, you know, a couple of decent overtakes, you think, yeah, that's not a bad race around here. These guys, no, they don't get the memo on that.
They don't.
Just go side by side constantly. Ridiculous battle. Overtakes where you should not be allowed to overtake.
Yeah, I mean, my first race this season that I did broadcast was Homestead, Miami road course, and it was just amazing to watch.
Oh, I mean, that's another track where it's not easy to overtake.
It's really not. It's really not. But they were side by side for much of that race.
Your classified results. We'll have a bit of a chat to small drivers shortly. Your winner, David Gaspers, Jason Green coming home in second. Todd Hansen in the end, pipping Bobby West to secure the last of the podium places. Overstreet, Sadro, Andalo, Elsa, Nunes and Wood rounding out your top 10 with Pocock, Favini, Bradshaw, McGill, McCain, Montgomery, Love. Jackson takes you up to 18th with Caro and rounding out your top 20. There, Jacobson running at the top 20, even Walbot, Gradwell, Gould, Gibson, Ray, Thomas, Kern, Mitchell in 28th, with 29th being Spice, Horniak, Flores, last driver to finish on the lead lap in 31st, Nelson 1 lap down, then into retirement Justice Marnie, Brewster, and then 2 idiots in the background there who joined the wrong session. So no more, but now joined by your race winner, David Gaspers. 2 wins from 2 this evening. Absolutely bossed it, but then with your pedigree in this championship, I don't think we should have expected any different. I mean, coming into this race, how confident did you feel that you could pull off the double victory?
I don't know. I was a bit surprised, but I had a gut like that. In the practice sessions, Jason was usually slightly faster than me, but I think he couldn't get used to the higher temperatures we had in the race, and also changing from the V takes a bit of time usually because the handling is very different. So I think he was struggling with that as well.
And from that point on, I mean, early stages, you know, about halfway through the first lap, you'd open up a gap. I think it was just coming out of the S's. You'd already established a 1.2 second lead, but then everyone seemed to catch up with you again. Did you get a bit worried at that stage that everyone was closing in on you so quickly again?
No, I was just being a bit of an idiot and got lucky that my car survived, but because I hit one of the sausage cups in the S's.
Oh, well, you did incredibly well to survive that one. David, before I let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out, give thanks to, etc.?
Well, I want to thank Steve for organizing this thing every season for multiple years by now. So I think we would have a lot less drivers in the car without the broadcast every week. So also thanks to you for broadcasting it and showing the car to more people.
Most certainly. With the racing you guys put on, it is no problem whatsoever. That's David Gaspers, your race winner, well, double race winner here today from Circuit of the Americas in the Week 13 runoffs. Wow, I did see Stevie Ray dip in. He dipped back out again. We'll give it a few more seconds to see if he emerges. Charles. Where do we go to unpack that one? I mean, that battle for third that went on all race long. Could have gone absolutely anyway. And I feel for Bobby West. I mean, he controlled it from about the mid-race point. Steve Elson's going to feel gutted that he wasn't part of it. After his mistake, saw him fall down through the field. I mean, in the end, recovered it to 8th, but even so, I think he definitely would have been elbows deep in that fight for 3rd.
Yeah, Jorg Monty also, got collected.
Yes,
was up there running in the top 5 as well. Who absolutely has the pace to keep up with these guys. So it's
definitely. I mean, Ray
course,
was another one as well. He was in just at the tail end of that group before his mistake sent him backwards. So I think he may well have been part of it. Well, as we sort of wrap things up here, I don't think there's anyone else to join us. As well, definitely into Fergie time, as British viewers would know exactly what that means. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Week 13, the runoffs in the Ray Esports Racing Series and the Weekend Warriors. It's been another absolute classic, a jewel in the crown. But let's face it, did you expect anything less than side by side? 2 wides, don't bother about them. 3 wides, 4 wides even. You know where it's at with the Weekend Warriors and the Formula Vs. Thank you very much for joining us. I've been Tim Cox with Charles Bashal and John Growski, and we'll see you shortly here on Apex Racing TV.